So more than ever, we need to be strategic with our selection. So we'll look ahead for the block, basically. Obviously input on boys, injury returns. We'll be able to have a good look at England and the Reg 9 call-ups. And it's not, like looking ahead, it's not definitively picking the team, but it's just understanding what it could look like from a consecutive games, all that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. The initial view of like looking at the whole squad on a board and picking 15 people for the weekend is probably needs developing. Like there's always a strategic view. Over time, you know, we've got to navigate this squad of players between now and the end of June. So you can't just go week to week. Obviously what you can't do is ink in squads for a long period of time, but we look at blocks, so we look at 3 to 4 game blocks. We look at availability, so availability, there'd be a few criteria on availability, so it would be whether they're fit, whether they're away with international duty, and then their load, so how many games they've played already this season. And when you go into a block, you know, we'll sit down and we'll talk about what the block looks like for the group, and go from there. And then when we get down into the detail of week to week, you know, there's a view from the coaches in the different positions, so Luke, Mark, Ryan, obviously David and Neil as well, and you know, those guys provide information, and from that, you know, we have a conversation about the team, and then ultimately I make the final decision about who plays, and that's probably, you know, the one part of selection. The next part is then communicating that to the lads who aren't playing, the lads who are, and go from there. So when we've named the squad to the players, the Thursday tends to be 15 v 15. So, you know, there's a group of players who are playing against a team who they're competing against. That team then that aren't going to the weekend, they'll train hard on the Friday. So they get through, you know, the non-23 work. They'll work hard on the Friday to almost replicate their game, develop themselves, so that when they come back in the next week, they're in a better position to get picked. And I think it's one of the things that we need to continually work on. We don't get it right all the time, but of course, only 23 people get picked every week, but you need to make sure that there's 58 people engaged through the year, and having people playing game time is something that we need to make sure we're getting right.
Yeah, like for me, I'd throw Ewan in at 6, but like we know we're going to get from Ewan. He's a hard draft, he's a good line-out forward. To be fair, of all the kids who have come back, he's been the one who's probably been one of the sharpest, and he's got a good understanding of where he needs to go.
So over the last 5 years, you can see that we've had a strong intake from our academy. The pathway's been working really well from, you know, even through our ACE programme, from our local schools and in through our private schools that all started feeding into our DPP, under 16s, 18s and so on. So it's been incredibly positive to see. I think we had 5 England 20s players last year, or this year, sorry. Year before we had 6 or 7 under 18s. So you can see it's really starting to work. And we're starting to see the fruits of our labour, so incredibly positive, and chuffed to actually see boys coming through and getting colours for the first team. And you think of the 5 lads that we had in the England team, so you know, anything from Nahum, Ewan and Orlando, Tom Cost-Smith, John Stewart, and Max Deej going up into the first 15. So yeah, we should be incredibly proud. We've got a really strong group here, and I think they're working really hard with, you know, Hats, Hoots and Katie especially. So our environment, you know, over the last 2 or 3 years has been developing, and this year especially, you know, we've been working with Katie around our deeper Y, and our young boys are starting to mix a lot more with the senior players. You know, they're being more vulnerable with each other, and we're starting to share, you know, what's happened in our past lives, what are, you know, creating connections, why are we here, what are we trying to achieve, and I think we've all started to mould together slowly. And I just think for our youngsters, it's great, you know, someone like JJ or Yorzy being able to share their experience with England, you know, with someone like Orlando or John Stewart that's got no caps and they're coming through the academy system. It's great to see, and yeah, hopefully we'll see the benefit of that in the seasons to come.
The starting team is one on the left. If your slash will change you in. We're going to start off blue, receiving a restart. Okay, so ball speed's important. I want the 9 counting 3, 2, 1, and then we can play the ball away.
Be creative. Think about how you sell me a picture, and I'll go. Then it can be the short, it can be over the top. But got to be animated. You can't just wait for the pass. Yeah. That's not going to sell it to me. Be cool. Good. Right. So
this year, especially, you know, we've set our stall out that we want to develop our style, and creating an identity that everyone knows that's the brand of rugby we want to play. We've got schools, private schools that that feed in, that play a certain way, Millfield, Bryanston and so on, and then you've got the ACE programs and local clubs. What the key for us though is bringing those players in, moulding, but also accepting that they've got some experience, they've played a certain way, is to feed that in. And you can play a certain way for a certain clubs, schools, Bryanston, Millfield, Marlborough, etc. And then you can also play at Beach and Cliff within our ACE program. But the best thing about it is that they're turning up now with different experience, different environments. We're all bringing it into one and creating our own identity. So every time we step out on the pitch, everyone knows what we're trying to achieve. And if the fans are in this, the staff, the people at the club from all different directions and areas, it's going to be amazing because everyone can share what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's the best thing. You think from training, we try and give them the best opportunity to learn and create those situations that they can kind of represent in a game. But the game is, when you throw contact in there and you throw opposition that have a different style, we have our style and they have theirs and they try and impose on you. I think it's class for our boys to get those learnings in the A-League games and so on, and then when it comes to the Prem games, hopefully they feel confident in themselves that they can handle whatever's thrown at them. So at the moment, training is ramping up week by week, and you can see that the young boys are really thriving on it. There's just nothing like playing on a Saturday against a team that have a completely different style to you. So yeah, it's really good to watch them adapt and problem solve, if I'm honest.
We just looked at a starting team which looks like Benno, Danny, one of the tight ends, so Johannes or Darcy, Yulzi, Mikey Williams, Miles Reed, Sam Underhill, Yaku Kutsia, Foxy, Danny Cipriani, Joe Kokonasiga, Max Ajomo, Jonathan Joseph, Rocco and Deej.